Tonight we begin the Bogota branch of the Trinity River Lookout. We are expanding our infrastructure and standing in solidarity with the Colombian workers involved in the general strike last July. Our very own Stephen is sitting down with our Colombian contact Severino to discuss the horrific events perpetrated on the workers by the hard-right narco government of Colombia. Not to mention that same government is being supported by our very own, the USA. This is the first episode in our coverage of the atrocity that is the Colombian state. So sit back, grab a drink, because you're going to need it. Trigger warning. This episode features police violence and sexual assault.
So in this national strike, this began about 2 months ago, yes?
Right.
And what happened was there was a tax reform, basically the government trying to tax the poor and more, because we already have like really heavy taxes. And what happened, it was like the spark. And the spark, that was the spark that lighten up all the problem, So a lot of people start going to the streets. They started stop going to work, absenteeism and all that stuff. And suddenly, it was this the tax reform was the spark, but it was like a collection of problems that we've been through for more than 20 years,
Right.
That we've been dealing with this mafia. Basically, after Pablo Escobar was taken down, basically this guy who was ex-president, this guy is Álvaro Uribe, and he controls the political party Centro Democrático, and basically they are this kind of a mafia who are kind of like controlling politics in Colombia. After Pablo Escobar, was taken down, they took over all the business and all that stuff. They are the ones who are in charge of sending cocaine from Colombia to other countries. So they control all these business, now.
Yeah, and they have a lot of power within a Central Democratic.
Yes. I'm gonna recommend here a series that this series is in YouTube. You can find it in YouTube. It has English subtitles. So in Matarife, it's a documentary made about the ex-president, who is Álvaro Uribe, right? So we can call Álvaro Uribe the second Pablo Escobar, if you want to say like that. He's like the main head of the mafia who runs the government. So this guy, there's in this Matarife documentary, you're gonna find a lot of evidence that this guy, for example, he was working at the airport of Medellin, right? So in the airport of Medellin, when he was administrating it, he will give permissions to the planes of Pablo Escobar, to land and collect the cocaine and fly.
Whoa, really?
This guy Álvaro Uribe, he was the one in charge of like sorting out all the permissions and all the the things under the table to make this happen, so the planes could fly with all the cocaine and stuff. So this is kind of how this guy got introduced to the mafia, right, to the cartels and all that shit. It's crazy that this guy ended up being president, and he was for 2 terms. We had him as president for 8 years,
Yeah.
So
how would you describe his ideology?
The ideologies is how you call like neoliberalism.
Okay.
Or well, that's how I will call it. They call themselves democratic, but they're not democratic. They are not democratic at all. So they are pro. They are pro private property. They always bring in politics about taking care of people's property and like good politics for like business managers, CEOs, and all that stuff.
Very pro-business.
Yeah, basically politics that make the poor poorer and the rich richer, and that's been creating a lot of creating a lot of social injustice, which lends to strikes and what's happening now.
Okay, well,
So So yeah, it's been a really like a really difficult time for Colombia in the last 20 years, because in the last 20 years we had a lot of corruption, and we had a lot of like electoral fraud and stuff. For
Yeah,
example,
in
the
2006.
reason why these persons get to be presidents and all that stuff is because they commit a lot of electoral fraud, right?
Right.
So they managed to yeah, to control all these, and money here, money there, and they make it happen. Is really ridiculous how it happens, but I'm gonna let me see. I'm gonna of the guy who is president now, who is from the political party, the Centro Democrático.
Is that back in May 2018?
But yeah, like, man, this happened, and this guy was elected, and nobody could do anything against it. The opposition was calling this out, like saying, like, how is this possible? How this guy can be president? This is like such a, like a wrong way to do it. But that's how it works, man. Like, that's how it works.
Yeah.
They managed to, manipulate any aspect of the government and in their favor. So yeah, basically these mafia controlling the country, it lends to, like the paramilitary, which is one of the biggest problems we have here, because it's armed groups, of
Right.
like, let's say, in a nutshell, maybe citizens, but they're not citizens. They wear uniforms, they have their guns, and they have military training.
Yeah, they're terrorists. And
Yeah,
a lot of them.
exactly.
Do you know if they
Yeah,
went to the
exactly.
schools of America? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that they've been trained. They also been training, like, these groups of neo-Nazis
Mm.
that we have here, which is really ridiculous to think that
Yeah.
we have neo-Nazis here, but we do, and
Are they white?
they're being well, that's funny though, because they're not, so
Mhm.
I mean, I think their fight or whatever goes more politic in terms of, far right and all that shit. But they're funny people. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds interesting for sure.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, we don't have Nazis, but we have people with guns, working with the police, shooting protesters. So basically, I don't know. So not only people working along with the police, but also with the army. Like, the army trains these people who are not official officers, not officially military, but they receive help and support from the government. They receive guidance from the government. Like, government basically tells them where to act, where to go, and what to do, what to not. And basically, whatever reason that is in the way of any of the business of any of the governments, if they want to build a big park in a forest reservation, it has happened that, like, there's indigenous people taking care of the forest reservation, and they end up being murdered, by these paramilitary because they get in the way of the business, so they kill the protectors of the zone, so they can come and build, their big businesses and their parks and whatever.
Yeah, I think we've seen the
So
same thing in Brazil with the burning of the Amazon and then companies moving
exactly.
in. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, the Amazon happened basically because we share Amazon with Brazil. Amazon, a piece of Amazon is in Colombia too,
Mhm.
and it's the same problem. It's the same problem. Like, people who are natives there, they try to take care of the environment, but big business and oil. The petroleum machines and all of that. They keep coming and killing. They don't even try to negotiate anymore. They just come and kill whoever call out, or whoever is in the way of them.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
what has been done about this? Has there been any organization in defending the native people? I mean, I know Chilean, they're having a new constitution that includes protection of the environment, and it's being written
Right.
by native people.
Right. Yeah, I heard about that too, and I think Chile might have like a different how do you say, like a different mentality, because they already had how you say, like they had revolutions, you know, so
Mhm.
people are more aware of that. People are more aware of what freedom truly means. And I think they are like capable of rewriting the constitution because of this mentality they have. The problem that we have here in Colombia mostly is because the mentality of the people is, you know, it's very, how do you say, like this is a very religious country, for example,
Right.
right? So it's very easy to control in a certain way. So basically, the like this political party, the Centro Democrático, they do fraud, but also they manage to do psychology in a sense that they, you know, they get to people's minds. I mean, they convince people to see the world as they want them to see. You know, they tell them the protesters are terrorists, and they instantly believe that protesters are terrorists. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like in a sense that they will believe anything that they see on the news or they see on the newspaper, and that's like the, yeah, that's how they control people. But there's been an awakening, you know, in this last national strike, because it's the biggest, it's the longest national strike we've been already
In history,
uh,
or
in history. Yes, in history. Last one lasted like I think less than a month. And you know, like government start putting like little band-aids, like, you know, and eventually the strike shut off. But this new tax reform brought up a new national strike, and
right.
now is like it's gathering all the like everything that's been, you know, like it's been affecting the country and the people, especially people who live in very miserable conditions.
Yes, sir.
They're they're going to process, you know, like people are more aware, like there's more people going on the streets, more people claiming claiming for their rights and justice, you know. And well, it's like there's it's hard to have an organization here of, for example, like we don't have like a big anarchist or communist communities because of the paramilitary program and all of that, because once you have like a big enough group, it gets to the ears of the government, they just kill you, bro.
Yeah.
Like they just disappear people like that, you know. There's been more than I think 140 40 killings by the police, just by the police. And
140 killings in this protest.
yeah, in this national strike, because the number that I'm gonna say right now is gonna sound like super exaggerated, but it's not. It's real statistics. And in through history, there has been killed 6,402 social leaders. So social leaders, we call people who, you know, like that are part of communities that try to defend the zones, you
Yeah,
know, like
that's incredible.
government ends up
Do you have the
killing because
sources
they
for that?
get. Yes, let me search here.
So I was
Yes.
reading, while you search for that, I was reading that between 1986 and 2010, over 2,800 labor leaders were killed, according to one
Uh-huh.
source, and over 4,000 according to others. So, I mean, it's not exactly out of the ordinary in Colombia for mass killings of leaders to take place. So,
Yeah, so basically in like 20 years, you know, right after Pablo Escobar taken down, these guys started their their mafia thing. So here I'm gonna share a link to a news article in English that you can see is from the UN. So um, yeah, here is reported 6,402 people killed. It says extra extrajudicial. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry.
Extrajudicial. You said it
Okay,
right.
thank you, extrajudicial. Yeah, so yeah, basically paramilitary killing people who get in the way of government's business. That's what it means, right?
Is the time frame for the 6402 that within the last 20 years?
I don't have that. I think it's in okay, between 2002 and 2008. Wait.
I'm scrolling through
since
now.
2002. So yes, since 2002, kind of more or less.
They're pretty vague in this article, but
This was our first installment of Trinity River Lookout, Bogota. Join us next time as our coverage from Colombia continues. And feel free to donate to our Patreon. And please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Thank you, and good night.